Universe.
Greetings, I'm Shad.
And greetings, I am Tyranth.
And Tyranth, we got something very special in this video.
Literally been a year since the last time we did a testing video on this.
Ooh, so this was the previous iteration of our carbon fiber sword weapon blade. And look what we have here. Now we do have the video of us making this. Big shout out to James with all the help that is given. Is basically a carbon fiber expert that was able to help us out. Engineer.
Yes.
This thing.
And recently, probably like a week and a half ago, we got the blade blank back that we made when we went there. So I spent the last week in my workshop basically turning this into an actual sword. You can check out my channel, Screen Tested, where I make all these sorts of weapons. Anyways, this one here is very interesting because I have a lot to talk about and I haven't spoken about with Shad and I really want to.
I have a lot of observations already. This thing is wild. It might actually be one of the biggest swords we have here now.
Yeah, I think it is, yeah.
I want to see how functional it is. If it's is it even worth making a sword this way?
So let's get started with some fun stuff. All right, in the course of making this, because when we made it at James, we were just layering stuff, basically making a blank, just a blank of a sword blade. Actually taking that and turning that into an actual sword is a very different process entirely. Now, a couple of things that I observed very early on is delamination in some of the areas. And this is manufacturing defects is the best way to describe it. So if you have a look down here, you can actually see
slightly,
where the carbon fiber is not actually making contact with like things like the core and things like that. And then when I actually started putting in bevels, because we need a bevel to put on the edge. So delamination in the carbon fiber, in the bevel, in the layers. Then there was also some other issues that I warned you about very many times, and that is the alignment of the blades and the blades themselves. So these blades, they have the little gaps. You can see where the little gaps are.
That's not too much.
They're also kind of like this. Yeah. So meaning when I try to put a consistent edge on it, it wouldn't.
Okay. That doesn't invalidate the concept. That's really a limitation of materials. If we had like a single bit of steel to insert.
Yes, that is true. That would fix that. But then we had things like we added the Kevlar in between.
Well, let's pause on that because people are probably unaware, or if you haven't seen the video of us making it, that this is not just carbon fiber. In fact, because we had an expert helping us out, he was able to tell us, no, if you want to get the best properties like stiffness and strength, you actually make a composite of materials. So this not only has carbon fiber, it even has Kevlar in it.
It has carbon fiber, Kevlar, it has a foam core.
So this foam core is interesting because when I first heard that, it's called a Soric core, I thought that would weaken it, but no, it actually adds rigidity, like a lot of rigidity to it.
This is something that I'm probably going to have to talk with James, the guy who, I'm off camera, just in terms of refining the design, because actually when I cut into the blade, things like the carbon fiber and the foam core, first off, the foam core was delaminating from itself, so it was coming apart very easy, and the Kevlar was still very soft and floppy. Now, I'm assuming, because I think me and James spoke about this, it's actually if the blade breaks, the Kevlar will keep the blade from shattering, so it's less dangerous. However, that takes away some of that rigidity. And as you can see in some of these areas here, this is actually the Kevlar.
Yeah, I can see that the Kevlar is very resistant to wanting to be frayed, which is why Kevlar is used. Part of the project here is to build up to something really impressive, which is the Titan sword, a giant sword made out of this. But also, this is the prototyping phase to see what works, what doesn't. And so we are going to be testing to see how this construction method holds up to some abuse, to some use, how maneuverable it is. There is a lot to explore with it. But before we dive into the nitty-gritty and the details of this sword, because there is a lot of really cool stuff to go into, I just want to kind of point out, like, you might have noticed, we like a medieval aesthetic here, don't we?
Do we? Oh, I didn't realize.
Yeah, hard to... In fact, I like medieval kind of hints in everything, which is why I want to tell you about Valamore watches. Now, we have talked about Valamore watches already, and turns out you guys really like them as well because they're genuine quality, and that's why we actually have this sponsorship and affiliate sponsorship with them, because they are really high quality watches with a medieval aesthetic to them.
Yes.
Like, check these out. These are genuinely brilliant. The actual arms of the watch, they're made to look like swords, right?
These watches are made out of stainless steel. They have sapphire crystal. They have automatic movements. They have multiple different lines. I can't remember what this one's called off the top of my head. Kilgara, I think. But they are entirely medieval themed, all custom parts, and they're actually really nice watches. We have multiple people here who just wear them.
Just wear them.
Nathan, our cameraman, he wears his on a daily basis.
Is that the red one? I want to
yes,
share.
it's the red one.
I'm taking the red one.
Tyranth red one.
Shad red. Oh, look at this. This is just so tight, right? And one of the things I love, even the bands are custom. This is like a sword medieval kind of, design to it. And look at the buckle.
Even things like the rotor, they are all medieval themed, and they're very nice, very affordable, and you can check them out in the link below.
Genuinely high-end premium watches of the medieval aesthetic. These are brilliant, and just nothing but positive reviews from some of our fans who have also tried these out.
And we enjoy working with them. And if you guys buy these ones and you guys enjoy them, hopefully we have something special coming up with them in a future project. Here, you can have the Shadowversity blue, and I'll have the Tyranth
I'm keeping
red
it this one. I'm keeping this one this time. This is so nice.
Check them out, help support the channel, and we really enjoy them.
Link in the description, of course. Alrighty, as I mentioned, there's a lot to get into, and one of the important things that we want to talk about is the handle construction, because Tyranth, you're saying there's some important things to point out.
Okay, so with this handle construction, I didn't film any of this because I just didn't have time, but I basically used epoxy for everything. Okay. And the reason why I did that was because the original taper of the blade to the tang was a bit aggressive. I feel like we can do some troubleshooting there. And I was too worried because I mentioned things like the core itself had a bit of delamination, and then the Kevlar was softer than I would have thought. I didn't want to put any pins through stuff. I felt like we were just going to create weak points that we would regret later. So it's basically all epoxied in. It's all strong, so it should be fine for testing. But like when we do like a strike on the crossguard, I don't know how many times we can do that.
We will find out, right? Again, this is a prototype piece to test certain stresses on the construction method.
Last thing before we move on is how the blade is attached. I originally did more of a chisel method where on one side it's flat, the other has the edge on it. This one has the blade right in the center.
It's inserted.
Obviously it has bevels on both sides like a regular sword. However, if you look, one side is very flat and then one side has that kind of...
That's again due to the construction method because it was resting on a flat surface and the top had, a
which means the only way to kind of get rid of that bulge on the one side is to sand it all down. But when you see that, it gets to that Kevlar really quick.
So I'm already noticing a couple of things that we might want to try with the phase 2.
Yes.
I reckon we would want to sandwich it on phase 2 as well as the vacuum seal. And the Kevlar is a maybe. We might not even want to include it, depending on how much it adds to the strength. That we'll find out.
I think one layer of it, something like that, is fine just to capture if it shatters, but I don't know how many layers. It's something we'll have to discuss with James.
I'm really interested to see how well the blade, because we have not pinned the blade. This is held in through, and so, very interested to see.
All right, do you want to move on to, what do you want to move on to next? Weighing it, maneuverability?
First, we're gonna go to some place where we have a bit more space, and I'm gonna hold it and see how it feels.
Next phase, Shad's gonna hold the sword.
I love holding swords. Alrighty, the first thing that is hard to convey through the video, you probably will be able to see it, I don't know, but this thing is big.
Yes, it is quite big.
This is a big boy. This is legitimately in the great sword range, but I have 3 rules of thumb to determine when it crosses over between a war sword or big long sword to a great sword. Just want to test those out. First is, could you draw it from a sheath on your belt? If I was to... No, there's no hope. There's no hope. All right, second rule of thumb is, could you grapple someone? No, like if I was holding on, I couldn't get this behind my line. And last rule of thumb is, would you hit the ground if you're just going to do normal things? Pretty darn close though, but...
Close.
This fails 2 of those. This is a great sword.
Okay.
Hands down.
But something that we haven't mentioned and it's very difficult to convey is the weight.
The weight, because this is the other caveat that we need to talk about. With this sword being so big, it does not feel the way it should for a sword this size.
Now this is currently the biggest sword that we have. This thing is, and it's a beautiful sword as well, but you can see the difference there. Where orders of magnitude here. Now this one here weighs 2.21 kilos.
Okay, this is so hard for me to gauge. This is really like, I'm going to, I don't know, because the size, usually like the size is throwing me off.
And it's the distribution of the weight.
I'm going to say 1.5.
I'm not going to guess because I'll look like an idiot, so I just want to know.
We just need to know what this is. 1.5! That was bang on!
This sword here weighs 1.5 kilos.
Holy crap, holy crap. I need to get the Buster Sword. That's lighter than the Buster Sword.
So this here is absolutely ridiculous. And in terms of, It is. I could swing it around one hand. I could use it one-handed.
My brain is resetting. That is literally lighter than this sword.
Just compare them. Yeah.
Compare. Let's put them on the side. Like, this carbon fiber sword weighs less by a considerable amount than this bastard sword. This is 1.7, that's 1.5.
Yeah. Well, with the weight out of the way, why don't we just get into some maneuverability?
Let's get into some maneuverability. I need to throw this around and test it out, because this is crazy. This is like, you can one-hand this. Holy, like, seriously, this is so light. Wow, it does have inertia to it though, because it's long, and by long, that means it has torque. And even though it's light at that length, you do feel the inertia more, but it is easier to redirect and faster than any sword of this size I have ever handled. This is crazy. And so for like, wow, look how fast you can go with this. With great sword maneuvering. Okay, this is the big feature about trying to explore making a carbon fiber sword. If we could get the cutting capacity acceptable, we'll find out about that. There's still more tests to do, right? The fact that we could make a functional sword out of a much lighter material, that's nuts. In actual fact, you could one-hand this weapon.
If you're strong enough, yeah. You want to try and
hell yeah,
go for it. You look like a Dark Souls boss.
Oh, this is legit like fantasy aesthetic stuff, where you get giant swords, giant shield, and you're just there going, oh, look at this, man. This is crazy. Do you want to go?
There's one thing that I want to mention here, because this is something that I haven't seen as an outsider looking in. This is very floppy. There's a lot of flex on this. Now, I don't know how that's going to play out in testing, but it scares me, Shad.
It does. The thrusting capacity is going to be a little weird with it, but let us point out, it is not the only floppy blade.
Yes, but this is, because it's different materials, that I trust. This I'm like,
we'll find out. Because like, shake yours. See the flop on that? This flops more. This is more floppy.
Yes.
And hang on, I need to point that out again. This is a bigger sword, right? Carbon fiber, the way that we've made it with the Sorek core and everything, James, you're a genius, right? Has made that stiffer than this shorter steel sword. And so this one is a beastly cutter. Yes. Floppiness doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad sword.
Yes, spring steel versus carbon fiber Kevlar.
But that does have spring in it.
Yes, but if I hit this like on point on, I don't know what happens with the flex.
Yeah, you need a certain weight to cut well with a sword, but that has the adequate weight in it.
It does. Last time we had the issue that it was so light that it was actually overcoming our cutting capacity. With this does have some weight to it, so it should be able to cut.
I mean, you can get devastating cuts. If you're in the 1 kilogram mark of a sword, that's an equivalent weight to do some really good cutting. It's just that this weight is more distributed, but when you strike a thing, like a target, all that weight is still going to be pressing into it. You can cut just as well with shorter swords. There's the misconception.
Yes, bigger means it can cut better.
It doesn't mean that. It means you have reach, which is a huge advantage in combat, and you do have more leverage because of 2 hands usually. Yes. But you can get shorter swords, and we have something special on its way for another video to test that, by the way.
Yes. But cutting can usually be boiled down to a skill issue.
Sometimes.
Most of the time.
Like last time? Because
I'm going to let that go, Shad.
Oh, yeah.
We've got things to do today.
So he says. The other big advantage, if you've ever done a lot of weapons-based combat, sparring, training, everything, speed.
Yes.
Speed can be a game changer. And that's why some swords will sacrifice some cutting ability. Not huge, and that's what this sword is all about.
Yes.
This weighs 1.2 kilos, and in 2 hands, it is
very quick,
so darn quick. But you have a sword this big, only a little bit heavier. The speed that you have on that versus other swords.
The reach.
Speed and reach.
And you might not even be sacrificing much cutting capacity because this is a big, thick.
Yes.
So I don't know.
Like this is a big sword. This is a great sword, right? Imagine a long sword made the same way. That would be like we would get it to 1 kilo to 0.8 kilos, I reckon, if we did a long sword.
Perhaps, but we have to test things like how much flex it can take and thrusting, all that sort of stuff.
Because this is all with the big caveat is if it can function as a sword.
Yes.
In terms of weight maneuverability, I'm blown away. This is unbelievable. We are treading new grounds. We are advancing sword technology. It has been stagnant for so long. This is legitimately the most advanced sword ever made.
Let's not go there yet, but we'll get it tested first.
This is all with the caveat is if it can function like a sword.
Exactly.
But that's for the purpose of prototyping it to see what we might need to change. If it doesn't hold up, will it hold up? Let's find out. And before we get there, there is something I do need a comment on, Tyranth.
Go for it. Okay, so because Shad's method of putting the steel in the way it is, it means that the edge is uneven. So when you try and sharpen it, it's uneven. And then on top of that, it's a really, really long sword. I had to use one of those pull sharpeners, and I'm ashamed of myself. Genuinely.
Some might say it's a skill issue.
You can't sharpen it all, so you don't get to say anything. This is one of those ones I'm not joking with you guys. I'm actually not happy with myself because of sharpening this blade.
You've tried your best. It has an edge on it.
It does, but it's not. I wanted it more.
I mean, it's uneven. This part is sharper, this part is not. But it has an edge.
Yes.
So it's not going to cut to its most optimal level it could.
Hopefully we can overcome that with the size of it. And
I should mention, because people might not, if you haven't seen the construction method, they might not know, this has an inset steel blade in it, okay? It is 1 centimeter...
Sandwiched in between the carbon fiber and Kevlar.
But it's only 1 centimeter thick here, 1 centimeter thick. So there are 2 little strips of steel, spring steel, and it is 1 mil thick along this plane, 1 centimeter thick along this plane. Our test piece, which was the carbon fiber knife, was only 0.5 mil thick, and we were able to cut through it. We've doubled up the thickness of the steel here, and so this is spring steel. But that should give us a usable functional edge, which will be restricted on its sharpness.
Somewhat.
But now I can't wait. Let's go do it. Let's go do it.
I can't believe you brought that up.
Okay, so believe it or not, this actually isn't the only carbon fiber project we are working on. Because we have such a brilliant champion, James, the expert, helping us out, there are multiple carbon fiber things that we have in the work. In fact, we have another carbon fiber prototype thing that we are prepping to do a video on. And if you want a sneak peek to see what this is and how insane it is, become a supporter through the channel memberships here on Patreon, Player, or Subscribestar, and you get access to not only this bit of exclusive content, but a whole range of exclusive content. And this is a sneak peek that you will love. This thing is actually pretty crazy, right? So again, become a supporter, get the exclusive content, and you guys are saving this channel. That's why we're able to keep making projects like this. It's because of our supporters. It's because of you guys. So thank you, genuinely thank you from the bottom of my heart. And let's get back to testing this bad boy out. All right, so I'm already thrown a bit because of the range I can strike. I'm like miles away. This is so out of measure for like a long sword usually. Yeah, you could step in, but to actually have a strike from this distance, mate. All right, I'm going for the range here. I'm going right here. Ready? Whew. I actually hit the ground on that thing because it's just so long. Look at it, I got some dirt on it. It got through it, right? I did feel that it was a difficult cut because this sword isn't as sharp as it could be. I'm gonna go in closer, see what it comes like with just see what the inertia does on a closer strike. That was actually much easier. That was impressive. See this kind of filleting? That's the result of the sharpness of the edge. But the fact that it has enough momentum and inertia to still sail through, that's impressive.
Usually I would spar with you on cuts, but today is one of those days where I'm actually not going to. That was impressive. Because this blade has so much flex, you
need edge alignment.
The edge does change, and on top of that, because the cross section of this is a bit
bit wonky.
Yeah, which we need to figure out manufacturing. I'm actually impressed with that.
And he's also hedging his bets because he doesn't know how well he'll do. And so if he gives me crap and he fails, you'll have to eat it.
I just gave him a compliment, and I don't give those out very much. You guys saw that.
Oh! Oh, he does it!
That wasn't a...
He does it!
He does what?
Ah, yes. It counts. It counts!
He walked off because he knows exactly what's wrong with it. That was not a cut at all. He just smashed it in half.
It counts!
It's crazy. Like how big this is, yet one-handed. Like it's not perfect.
Yeah.
But
you almost got through. Like horizontal cuts are actually much harder on pool noodles.
Well, not only that, this has a lot of flex. I felt that.
Yeah,
flex,
yeah.
so.
That throws the edge alignment out quite a bit. Try again.
So there is an edge there. Relatively speaking.
Relatively speaking.
Relatively speaking.
The thing is, this is nowhere near as sharp as we would expect or want a functional sword to be.
Keep in mind, that is a very thick
cross-section. It is.
Section.
It has a thicker cross-section, which is also throwing it, agreed.
Quite a thick.
But this
if this was a sword, that would be crazy.
Yes, this is the point that I'm making, though. The fact that it is able to cut this well, with it being that dull and this cross-section, this is actually impressive, okay? If you're trained a lot with swords and you're familiar with it, this is performing better than what you think it should because of how wide it is and how blunt it is. And I think it's the inertia, man. It's got the torque that is just pulling through.
Did you want to do some water bottles?
All right. Water bottles are going to be a turd. I got through it though!
Did you? Huh. Well, would you look at that?
That was a tough cut.
Yeah. You want another one?
I'll let you have a go. Damn it, you did better.
That's actually felt disgusting.
Though, it's actually that's a cleanish cut. Yeah. It's tearing at the end, but I was not expecting this to be able to do that.
Well, I'm a better cutter than you, Chad.
No. It's luck.
Do you want another turn, Chad?
Yeah, I want another turn! Don't need to look at it. You don't need to look at it.
Well, no, I want another turn. It squirted at me. Sorry, just give me.
You got face.
Hey, I cut it, didn't I? All right.
Give me that thing. Look at that! Precision and everything.
That wasn't
just the tip.
Yeah, that wasn't. It tore it off. Yes, a nice baseball swing. Yeah. Anyways, did you want to talk about the range? Because there's some interesting things here when it comes to hitting the target. Because it's so floppy and it's so long, actually hitting the target at its full reach, I'm worried that I'm gonna.
Yeah.
You're basically gonna hit this much of a zone.
Oh, that's because you're bad at aim.
Let's be objective here, Shad. We're talking about carbon fiber.
We need to have a competition about aim. So this sword is very difficult to cut with. I think two of it is, well, sharpness, okay? I need to say, though, I did not think we would get through water bottles, and we did.
You keep saying, it's not blunt. It's got an edge on it. It's just not razor sharp. I think it's more to do with the cross-section because it's just so thick. It's like nearly 15 millimeters thick. It's crazy.
Will it kill?
Yes.
Yes,
this will kill. And I feel like that's something that we had an issue with last time with the knife.
We had to put in so much effort with the knife.
That felt like a normal sword.
There was a couple of cuts where actually, all right, let's put the weight of the sword do most of the work.
Did you want to move on to the wood testing?
We need to stress test this.
Okay.
Oh, I'm nervous.
I'll get the safety glasses.
I'm nervous. I legitimately don't know what's going to happen.
Well, I reckon for your strikes it'll be fine because you don't hit that hard. But this brings me into my next issue. If I hit it...
I hit it easily hard enough, you cheeky bastard.
If I hit this actually properly hard, I am worried I'll break it. So I don't know how hard I should hit it.
Yeah. Look, you have a bit more muscle. I'll grant you that. Yeah, I struggle with push-ups, I understand.
I'm still going to hit this thing. I'm just going to hit it a little bit softer than usual.
We'll build up. It depends how well it resists the lower level strikes.
Because what I'm worried about is it actually rolling and then flexing down.
I think that will be its strength. I'm worried about the blades being dislodged. Because this is the thing, like the test knife that we did held up surprisingly well, but it was riveted in.
Yes.
This doesn't have any rivets.
It's just the rate.
And we have been seeing that the Sorek core is a little soft, and that is what is buttressing or butting the blades in place.
Well, one way to find out.
There's only one way to find out. I'm nervous. I'm nervous. As always, medium strike, see how it holds up. If we're good, I'll go to a strong strike, but I'm just blown away by the distance I have here. I'm standing further away from this, test piece than we ever have. Also, remember, this isn't about what it does to the wood. It's about what the wood does to the blade. Let's go. So nervous, man. All right.
That didn't sound nice.
It didn't sound nice, but that held up.
Okay, do it again.
I need to go again. It actually did more damage to the wood than the katana did. All right, screw it. I don't want to. All right, strong strike. Ready? Ah! And that'd do it.
Was I right? I think I was right.
Didn't I tell you to do something?
No, didn't I tell you something? That this tang worried me.
Look, I even broke this. See how strong I hit that? Look at that. Now this is gone too. Remember, I did say to increase the scales.
Yes, but I couldn't because the crossguard is in the way, and I couldn't pin anything, remember?
I think we could repair it that way though, and that would still have a stronger hold.
Right at the tang. But the interesting thing about this is this actually snapped not at the shoulders, this just snapped at the tang, like in the tang.
In the tang.
So, because this...
I still think, because there are, what's these made out of? The scales?
Polycarbonate.
Polycarbonate scales. I reckon if we might need to do something different with the crossguard, but have those scales run down the blade to about here. Will hold it together. And we could even repair it that way because those scales will be stronger than that handle was.
Yes, but I want to make this clear here. This didn't actually break at the shoulders where failure like this would happen. The shoulder of the shoulder is actually inside this here. So this actually did its job. It actually just broke on the tang itself.
Yeah.
So, and you don't hit very hard.
I hit hard then.
We'll agree to disagree.
I broke the stand, you
All right, let's get to final thoughts.
bastard.
Final thoughts. Truth be told, this isn't Shad's fault, or my fault for that matter. You can actually see the Sorek cores. You can see the Kevlar, and it is all like there's no structure in any of that. It's all very soft, and it's
yeah. But I think that would be fixed if we have the scales going up.
I think that is a layering issue. Like we're having these delamination issues. I think it's just one of those things where we might have to go back to the drawing board to figure these issues out.
Yes. Now, something to point out, which is interesting. Okay, the handle broke, but how did the blade hold up?
Okay, so
let me find where I struck. I think I hit right there.
Okay, yep, that was okay.
That actually held up.
Yep.
It actually, in the areas where we struck, that's holding together remarkably well.
Yeah, sure, yes. It's just that I was poking fun before, but you weren't actually hitting that hard, relatively speaking.
No, that last one I put full power.
Okay, all right.
It broke for a reason. I wasn't holding back. You know what I had to do with the last strike?
Well,
I had to close my eyes. I didn't want to see it. I was just like, all right, pretend you're holding something else and go full power.
So it might be an edge alignment issue.
No, it wasn't edge alignment. We'll see that in the
truth of the matter is, having the blade break on the in the tang rather than the shoulders is not very common. Usually it'll break at the shoulders because that's the point where it tapers down. This just broke in the middle of the tang, which tells me that our core layout of how we're layering these things probably won't work on the other blades either. Now, the biggest issue that I've seen here is these bits here.
Okay, so we are seeing delaminations here and a bit lower here. I don't think that's from impact. I think that's from flexes.
Yes, I think it's from the, because there was also already a little bit of delamination at the start, which I mentioned, but this has gotten way worse now.
Yeah.
And I think that is from the flex.
That's a concern from the overall durability long term. I think it could be mitigated if we had pins holding the edges like we did with this. Sandwich method, I think, mostly works actually. We need to adjust some of the other parameters to hold it together.
Yes, the sandwich method worked. I'm surprised how well it worked. The biggest issue, I would say, is obviously getting those blades perfect, which could be fixed by just getting a singular laser cut piece, but that's very expensive.
Or compress it, actually squish it down.
Yes, but I think we're still going to have that, because the variance of these blades being offset is so small, but when you transfer that to an edge, like a razor sharp edge, those differences are actually really big. I wasn't expecting it to break today. I've just finished working on this thing.
It was fun.
It was fun while it lasted, yeah.
We can salvage this. We can attach a handle.
It's still good.
It's still good. We can attach a handle, rivet it to the thing.
Yes.
Make it go all the way up. And then do a destruction video on the blade itself to see if the blade will survive.
Yeah, that's something we might have to do. Yeah.
I do have a question, though, that we could also try with this. What would happen if we made cutout windows? We wouldn't do it, no, not down here because we need the scales, but up here, right? That would reduce the weight even more.
I don't think it will. I think we have too much. I'm not an expert here in carbon fiber. James is the expert. But I personally think that there's just too much of these foam, and the Kevlar, because it's still relatively soft, we're losing integrity here.
Possibly,
I think that's just what it is.
But the Soric core is what has given it its rigidity.
Yes, but then we're mixing that with that Kevlar, you know? I don't know. We'll have to discuss it with James, see what he thinks is best. This
was the purpose of the video. This is a prototype to test what part is holding together, what was a weak point. We now know what's a weak point.
Yep. But
I'm just too strong, I can't help myself.
All right, settle down there. But you can check out Valamore watches. There'll be a link in the description and in the pinned comment. We highly recommend them.
Absolutely. And if you want to check out the sneak preview of something else that we have as a prototype, that'll be coming out in the near future, become a member or supporter, and you'll get to see what this is.
I'll give you a hint. It's carbon fiber stuff.
It's more carbon fiber. I said it was carbon fiber stuff.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I said this isn't the only carbon fiber project.
Thanks for watching, guys.
But it's a cool thing.
Before we finish out, just wanted to let you guys know that I have already completely fixed the handle and the blade. So in the next episode of Carbon Fiber, we're going to be doing the destruction testing. So make sure you're subscribed and have the bell notification on so you get notified when the next Carbon Fiber episode comes out. Until then.